Half-Life is one of the most loved series, made by Valve, a loved company. In fact, I'd make the argument that Valve is more loved than Rockstar reputation-wise. Because I've played the Portal series and I've seen how great that was, and it lived up to the hype, I decided to finally play Half-Life. Starting with Half-Life 1, and today I'm going to be reviewing the game and seeing why is it so loved and is it overhyped. Now, I want to make this very clear. I was not around for the time this was released, but it doesn't stop me from giving my opinions. And I'm sure there's some opinions I will have that not everyone's going to agree with, but you know what? It's the internet. Grow up. Anyways, let's get with this review. So, this game starts off with you being introduced as Gordon Freeman, which is the character you play, who is this scientist who's highly intelligent, who's going to work at his lab in the Black Mesa lab. And the way they introduce the game is absolutely amazing in my opinion, as you get to see the lab itself in working conditions in a safe environment before everything goes crazy. And I like this because it gives world building, right? I think what Valve does the best is that they make sure to make everything feel real and actually like it has purpose and not just a prop for a level or a mission. Or you know what I mean? Like it doesn't just feel like, oh, I'm playing a video game. It feels like you're actually there, which this part does. And it's fascinating to see how everything operates and seeing these little machines crawl around on the ground and toxic looking waste on the ground as well. You go to meet your colleagues who tell you, hey, you have to help me with this experiment, or I don't really understand. I don't know what exactly this is, but basically you end up putting this crystal under a beam of energy and it activates an alien portal, which causes aliens to enter Earth. And this is basically the plot of the game is, hey, we need to stop the aliens because you, Gordon Freeman, know or should know how to, as well as most of the scientists, and you could put an end to this in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, you have technology at the place to potentially stop it. And you know what I love about this section of the game as well is also the fact that everything just goes to chaos. You see, right before all this, you see peace and you see the lab in its normal state. You see people, for example, pooping. And now everyone's dying and having problems. Like there's literally, like for example, immediately after this whole alien invasion starts, you start seeing head crabs consuming scientists inside their own rooms, and they can't escape, and they die. That's a cool detail. I like it. But yeah, anyways, like I said, the story basically is, hey, you need to stop this. But what ends up happening is while you're trying to find technology or get to the point in the huge Black Mesa lab, you end up finding out that the military's here to put an end to it. And not in the sense of killing all the aliens, but rather silencing everything. Basically, like real life, the government wants to just keep everything under control by removing any sort of evidence of anything. All witnesses, scientists, police, guards, all killed. And on top of that, all aliens killed, which actually really makes sense considering, that the government would just do that in real life in most countries. And so eventually the military starts shooting at the scientists and killing them, resulting in you now having to fight the military and aliens throughout the game. You meet up with some scientists who tell you, "Oh, your suit is trackable, so go to areas of of Black Mesa that are less like technology based, so that you can be less trackable or something like that." And you make your way through all these little less technological areas until you finally make it to the target, which allows you to go into the alien planet Zen, which then you have to basically take out this huge bad boss who controls everything, and once you kill him, the game ends. Psych! Nope, you end up meeting this random guy in a suit who basically says work for me, and you go through a portal. Now, I did dumb down the story a little bit, but yeah, that's basically the story, and the reason why is because this game doesn't really have a lot of story, to be honest. I'm sure there is a lot of details that I don't know about, but that's probably because they're explained away in other games. But for example, we have no clue, like, why this experiment that set off the whole alien invasion even occurred. We don't know who this guy in the suit is. We don't even really know much about Gordon Freeman. We don't know about these colleagues. We don't even know much about Black Mesa. Like, what are they really trying to accomplish here? Who knows? Yes, there's other things like there's hints of like, hey, this could be happening. For example, when you go to Zen, the alien planet, you see that there's already dead people there, which is kind of suspicious, right? Or in the halfway point, there's like a lab you go through which has aliens captured already by the scientists, which makes you question how do they capture them? I'm gonna be honest, is not the worst thing ever. For me, I just don't know what's happening. And it makes me like second guess myself if I'm just missing details or not. Now I do think the way they've kept things vague is a good and bad thing. I would lean more towards the good. And the reason why is because it leads you to want to play the like interest in the game. It leaves you speculating, leaves you looking for more details and going through the world to find answers. But it also, unfortunately does result in this problem called just like you're just lost. Like I feel like I played this game and really didn't get much out of the game like story-wise. I'm sure it's gonna be all explained in the next game, but for now that put a pin in that. But yeah, it does make me interested to see where the second game goes for sure because there's so many answers that I need. I think the best way to put this is having a game like this where the story is very vague but it still tells a story helps basically allow for people to have motivation to play a second game. The other thing I want to talk about with storytelling is how it's told. Now, this game's story is basically told through mostly NPCs, is revealed through NPCs, and a lot of it revolves around listening in on conversations, engaging with scientist conversations. There's no cutscenes, which is a great thing in my opinion because it helps with the world building. I feel like this game is at its peak is pretty great because of the fact that a lot of the times it revolves around making sure the world feels real and the way that the game plays feels actually like it would happen in real life. Alright, now let's talk about the gameplay. Now, the gameplay basically consists of three aspects. One, the gunfights, gunplay, so you're fighting the Marines, fighting the enemy, basically. Two, platforming, jumping around, trying to get around places, trying to avoid falling or whatnot, obviously. And then three, puzzles to progress. Now, I actually think this is pretty good as it keeps the game somewhat fresh most of the time in the sense that the game doesn't fully rely on one aspect for the whole game. Like, for example, Doom 2016, which I know is a game that's really late, but it's the closest game I can think of that's kind of related to this. Um, that game was really fun in combat, but because the game was so focused on combat, it became boring by the end because it basically was just fighting the same enemies over and over with the same weapons. And that's kind of the same problem this game has, but on a lesser extent because of the fact that there's puzzles and there's platforming, which can help vary it up. I think the gunplay in this game is actually surprisingly great for its time, as the AI for enemies is pretty brutal for the most part, especially the Marines, as they throw grenades pretty damn close to where you are almost all the time. And the enemy layout is usually pretty strategic, usually trying to flank you or placing them around corners you wouldn't expect. And the thing I also like about this game is that it's hard. I feel like the problem with a lot of modern games is, oh, I can change the settings to be less difficult. Or, oh, I can just skip this section. This game does not do this. And granted, the reason why it's hard is usually because I'm bad. You see, oftentimes, and this is where I had the most fun, is when you'll get into scenarios where you basically have no HP and you have to push through a whole area with like minimal HP. And the thing about it is, you could do that or go back to a really old save. And yes, I know you can quick save, but I really didn't use that feature often, so I ended up only having like a few saves to go to, so I'd lose hours of progress. For example, there was a phase in the game where I only had 2 HP and I had to fight 4 Marines to get to progress the area, which basically meant that I would get one shot no matter what. And you know what? After 30 minutes of hard dedication, I finally no-hit 4 Marines. You know how good that feels? But you know what? If this was a modern game, guess what? That wouldn't be a feature. They would be like, hey, do you want to heal? Or, oh, do you want to skip this section? That's what would happen. It's a sad reality. The game is really difficult, but usually it's because of the fact that you weren't prepared. And the thing about it also is the map itself usually has heals in area. If you explore the map thoroughly, you will find heals throughout the areas. Not always, but most of the times, yes. So the game rewards exploration and going off the path by giving you more ammunition, more heals. Therefore, you basically almost never actually are in a situation like I was in where you're on 2 HP, but sometimes it does happen. The gun variety is pretty nice, surprisingly. There's a lot of guns to be offered that are offered in this game. A lot of different ways to approach the enemies. I mean, you have multiple different types of explosives. You got multiple pistol types. You got a crossbow. You got multiple different types of like laser type of weapons or science weapons, I'd argue. And they do kind of like scatter them throughout the game as to make it more exciting to gameplay wise. It doesn't stop the problem though that the mid to end games just kind of get stale. And the reason why is because there's only so many times you can fight Marines or variation of Marines or aliens before it just kind of becomes mundane. I know that might be a hot take, but that's how I felt. Where the first half of the game really engrossed me, and the second half, combat wise, kind of just became boring and kind of just a task. It didn't feel enjoyable as it did. And that's mainly due to the fact that, it's the same enemy type over and over, and sometimes I'd get a new weapon, but you still just basically fighting the same enemy over and over and over and over in mass quantities, especially in the end game. Alright, let's move on to the next section, which is platforming. I mean, there's not really much to say. Platforming in this game is pretty basic and bare bones. There is a section in the last half of the game, where especially when you get on Zen, which basically introduces this idea. You get this jetpack thing. I don't even know what it really is. I forgot, but it basically boosts your jump, and I don't like it. Now, basically, the end of the game revolves around you making these mega jumps across platforms in the sky. And I'm gonna be honest, I just couldn't do it for the life of me. And it's not like it's because I didn't know how to do it. It's rather the fact that I don't know what I did wrong, but it just felt like no matter what I did, I couldn't make this jump. And the worst part is I got lucky. I don't think I could repeat the jump to progress at all. And it's not like it's fun to do it either. It's just kind of like, okay, we're just jumping. It's not that exciting. I don't know. I found that part of the platform to be kind of annoying. And as for the puzzles, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, they actually stumped me, and frankly, they're pretty good. A lot of the puzzles revolve around machinery that or equipment that's in the lab that needs to be activated, which I think is honestly a pretty cool way to do it. And overall, I mean, I would say this game is pretty solid. It's definitely really, really great for its time, and that's the thing. For me, this game didn't do enough for me to be like, oh my god, I love it. And I don't really see the hype in it fully, but I do understand that it's good. It's solid. That being said, I would never really be like, oh, I'm gonna replay this. And I probably wouldn't recommend this to most people. But if you look at it from the perspective of, oh, this game came back out in 1998, I mean, dude, this game is phenomenal for that time period and it's influenced many games. So I can see why this game is ridiculously hyped. It's understandable because it has a lot of aspects that are just amazing that we just consider standard in the modern day. And so overall, I'm gonna say, I mean, this game is solid. It's all right. It's not bad. It wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination to play. But yeah, that's my review of Half-Life 1. It's probably not the best review ever. I mean, to be honest, this game just didn't do enough for me to be passionate about this game. I usually like to speak about games I'm passionate about, whether I hate them or love them, but this is one of those games that just it kind of didn't do enough. That just didn't do enough to move me. Anyways, yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe.